They're bringing a UFC event to the White House lawn. They're gonna fight on the lawn. They're gonna fight on the lawn at the White House. They're gonna fight at the lawn. They're gonna fight on the lawn at the White House. No, I just want you to hear how it sounds to the rest of the world. They're gonna fight on the.
What are your thoughts on the UFC having a fight here at the White House?
I think it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. It's just not appropriate for White House lawn.
I think it's great that they're bringing it here. I think it's going to be an awesome event and spectacle for sure. American pride. It's nothing more American than UFC.
I like it. It's something new. It's something very Trump. He's a fighter. Americans are fighters. I love it.
I just think it's wrong to beat other people up and to pay to be a spectator and support it. It makes me sick.
I think it's a very monumental moment. This should be a really good fight. I'm excited to see what's going to go on, who's going to win. I'm here for it.
I think the idea of it's pretty cool, but $60 million is kind of a lot of money.
You do know the UFC is funding it itself.
Okay, I did not know that, but now that I know that, I mean, if that's what they want to do with their money, then go right ahead.
We're just a couple days out of the premier sporting event here at the White House where the top fighters in the world will be going at it. The infrastructure is looking ready to go. It should be a good fight night.
Here to make history, baby. You know what it is. My man, he got the Fugazi belt, but it's okay.
Thousands of people braving the 90-degree heat here on the Ellipse for FanFest 250. This is a prelude to the UFC fights on Sunday night. Fun fan events ahead of the UFC events. One concern, though, is with the weather. There's a line of thunderstorms that's supposed to come through D.C. Jim Power came all the way here from Austin, Texas. Jim, yes. Are you worried about the weather?
A little bit. We're kind of hoping for rain because Dana said they're going to fight rain or shine.
I'm sick and tired of hearing about the weather now and all the other bull surrounding this event. We are fighting on Sunday night on the White House lawn. No matter what.
Some people who are saying it's not right to do a cage fight at the White House.
I mean, I just think they've never watched UFC before. It's the greatest sport easily, and I think that to have something like this on one weekend, it's amazing, and it definitely celebrates the 250th birthday of our country. It's great, and I'm stoked.
I say, it's the right to bear arms, and, you got two of them, might as well use them, right?
Lots of folks noticing, paying attention to, wincing, celebrating the claw on the White House lawn for the big UFC bout Sunday, Flag Day. It also is not coincidentally President Trump's birthday. He is turning 80.
What's up, family? Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. So CNN sent their reporters down to the White House UFC event, and I think they expected to find people angry, people protesting, people embarrassed to be there. And what they found instead was thousands of regular Americans, including black fans, just happy to be there, excited, proud, soaking it all in. And the media genuinely did not know what to do with that. So we're going to break this down, look at what the fans actually said on camera. As you guys already seen, the sentiment and the overall energy in the first clip. But we're going to look at what the media said in response, and I'll give you my thoughts on what that gap tells us about who's really out of touch right now. So let's start with the people on the ground because that's where the real story is. And CNN, to their credit, actually put the microphone in front of real fans and let them talk. So let's walk through what happened. You had thousands of people braving 90-degree heat out on the Ellipse, standing in long security lines just to get into the fan fest. Coming from St. Louis, coming from Austin, Texas. You heard it in the first clip. Coming from all over the country. And the energy wasn't angry. It wasn't divided. It was straight up American pride. And I got to give a round of applause to that because that's what it's about, right? That's what it's about. It encapsulates the overall characteristic of America and American people and people who come to America legally and go through the process who have basically been, who are immigrants and basically encapsulated the overall meaning and respected the culture and what comes with America and also embracing it, right? When it comes to being resilient and living the American dream and making something out of nothing. The grit, and I think that is bigger than this UFC fight. But as you know, as fighters, they are competitors. They are, constantly, sacrificing their wants for what they need to do when it comes to training with UFC and all of that, right? Hands and feet, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So just the overall characteristic of a fighter, I believe, is bigger than just a UFC fight because the characteristics of a fighter, it being a UFC fighter, encapsulates the meaning of the overall culture, the overall sentiment in American thriving in the characteristic as a fighter, being resilient, making something out of nothing, having, humble moments of humility, learning from mistakes as a country, and et cetera, and et cetera. And I think that's what it encapsulates overall bigger than it's just event. Like it's just not an event. I think it's bigger than that, and that's what I think it's about. But let me know what you guys think about it. That's my overall synopsis of it because I think it correlates of why they use UFC specifically. Because if you look at the characteristic of a UFC fighter and the things they go through and endure, it's the same thing. You can correlate it to America and how far we have came, and the beauty of it being his 250th birthday, which is amazing, right? Now, one of the fans CNN talked to was a woman named Alexis, who came all the way from St. Louis for her second UFC event. And when a reporter asked her how it felt to be there, she was excited. She couldn't wait to see Derek Lewis fight. That's it. That's the answer. Just a fan who loves the sport and wanted to be part of something big and different. You had an individual named Logan. He also came from St. Louis. First time ever at the White House. And I'm speaking of all the individuals that was in the first clip that we just watched, basically, just so you know what I'm talking about. Uh, the young man who had the happy dad hat, Logan came from St. Louis, first time ever at the White House. And when a reporter pressed him about the controversy, because the reporter did try to bring the controversy into it, and Logan said, I think it's part of the history, right? The fighters walking down from the Lincoln Memorial was part of history. We'll probably never see that again. That's not a political statement. That's a person recognizing a moment. And then there was the security conversation because the reporter asked about that too. And one of the fans said her parents was nervous about her coming, but once she saw the security, military, National Guard, police on every street, she felt safe. And honestly, that's what most people want in their everyday lives, right? They want to feel safe at a public event. That's a normal human response. But here's the moment that really got me, family, because one fan heard the event cost around 60 million, you heard, and her first reaction was concern. That's a lot of money. And the reporter stopped her and explained the UFC funded the event itself. Taxpayer money didn't build it. And this woman's response was immediate. She said, if that's what they want to do with their money, go right ahead. Now think about that for a second. Because that right there is what happens when someone gets actual facts instead of a narrative. They don't need a pundit to tell them how to feel. They hear the information and they make up their own mind. Just like that. And that's why I like to create content around, you know, everyday things and real life situations like this and how it shapes our life when it comes to politics and policies, but giving you the truth and not telling you what to think. But having a truthful, honest conversation goes a long way and also encourage you to stay informed and stay sharp because it's not being as encouraged as much nowadays to think for yourself. And I know we have the beauty of AI, but you still should also sharpen yourself to continue to exercise that muscle of critical thinking. And not just AI, but also now with mainstream liberal media, they continue to want to basically push the narrative more so people feel as though nowadays, just speaking for most people, feel as though nowadays the mainstream media wants to push the narrative they want you to believe, disregarding the facts, which is not an act of journalism, true journalism. True journalism just gives you the facts, inform the people to the truth of its core, and let you think for yourself. But instead, they remix the truth to what they want and how they want the outcome to be. And then you are left being deceived and not even knowing the truth, just like this young lady who didn't even know that the UFC funded it itself, not American taxpayers. And that's the story that got buried, family. Because the vibe on that lawn wasn't political division, it wasn't anger, it wasn't embarrassment. It was people from different cities, different backgrounds, standing in the heat together, excited about a fight, proud to be at the White House, feeling like they were part of something historic. And that's what America's about. That's the beauty, and that's what I love, right? no divisive rhetoric, just unity. And that's what makes this country stronger, the United States of America. Not divisive rhetoric, not the race rhetoric, right? But removing race and coming together from all walks of life, cultivating the culture of what the true characteristic of what America is about and how we got thus far. And that to me is standing on the right side of history. Let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments below because I'm always open to the possibility of being wrong. But I think that's why we were able to right our wrongs as a country, even though no country is perfect and every country has their sins and flaws. But the unity is what made us better. And we stood continue to still go in that direction. And it's possible. And the beauty of what makes me so excited about this because this showed that it was possible. Besides all the narratives and the mainstream media, and the whole just being able to remove race and things be raceless or no things be colorless and just embracing each other and loving each other for out of respectful unity. And this is what sports is about. And some people are saying nowadays that it seems like they're trying to attack sports, the mainstream media, because their narratives isn't working as much. We know that CNN ratings are going down. They're trying to revamp themselves. Also, at 60 Minutes, there were firings going on there, trying to revamp themselves because their ratings going down and people are tired of the lies. Which is why I do what I do. I say it all the time, family. I do these videos to give you value, but every time they tell a lie, it gives me another reason to tell the truth. So we can have a productive conversation to keep going in this direction of unity and love. And that's why I always say spread that peace, love, and positivity and let the love supersede the hate. Right? We could do more together than apart. Two is greater than one, as they always say. Something simple. So you can see that it's a possibility that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel with all that's been going on through the years, with the divisive rhetoric and things like that, and pitting each other against each other and attacking each other for working harder when there's opportunities for everybody. You just got to want to go and get it. You have to have work ethic. But attacking someone from a socialist perspective, and most people feel this way, why should I have to pay the way for someone to live in New York, for example, with Zoran Mudami, the mayor? Why should I have to take my hard-earned money and what I work for and sacrifice to basically be taxed to death or to pay for the next person who can't afford to live in New York when they got the same opportunity as me? So capitalism is being attacked in the name of opportunity. When you have multiple opportunities, it's just up to you to put in the work to pave your way, because that's the beauty of America, land of opportunity. But if we come together, networking, understanding that we can push each other and uplift each other to all have opportunity with a plethora of opportunity that's there, but you got to want to get it. You could drag a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But to demonize someone for working hard and belittle on them and making as though, oh, you are equal as the next person, takes away the uniqueness, takes away the beauty of ideas and being able to think for each other, think for ourselves, critical thinking wise, and being productive. Even if we disagree to agree, we can still bring our ideas to the table because, and I like to say this saying, family, what's the point of having two yes men? Because one yes man is going to be useless. We don't grow through comfort. And the simple fact is, if we have productive conversations from all walks of life, no matter the race, and pushing each other and giving each other different perspectives, we can uplift each other to tackle opportunities that work for all while uniquely being ourselves and also being a productive citizen and contributing to society instead of looking at someone else and saying, oh, the billionaire, they worked hard, they built a company to employ individuals, but it should be taken because I deserve to have a piece of that because I didn't want to put in the work like they did. But the unity can create a conversation where it can change someone's mindset to actually be a productive citizen. And instead of taking from someone who worked hard to feel as though they are your equal and they don't deserve to have a certain amount of money and be demonized for how hard they work because they should pay for me because I don't want to get off my behind and work. But if we have a conversation, we can all uplift each other and just work. And I think that's the beauty of this, because unity does so much greatness, opportunities, perspectives you didn't know about, introducing things that you thought you knew or you didn't know that you now know about just because of someone else having a different perspective, utilizing critical thinking, and then an opportunity just on ideas to keep this country being innovative and continue to move in the right direction, but also continue to not be stuck in yesteryear. And I think that's the fear of all the rhetoric and stuff. Individuals want to be stuck in yesteryear because they don't want to move forward, so they want to hold the country back. And that's why some people are saying that, hey, they're trying to attack sports because sports is usually the main thing. Besides our differences, we could come together with unity, but the power is still there of unity, and sports can still bring it together. And that's the beauty of how this country got so far. And I believe there's hope, and I have faith, family, because this is what this is about. This excites me, right? This excites me. And I just wanted to show you guys the life as you guys see on the screen from the South Lawn, the White House residence in the UFC arena, dubbed the Claw, right? So on the left, you see it says South Lawn on the screen. That was from June of last year. And now this is earlier this week from the USC fight on the right. And I believe it also, even though it's historic and it's something never done, it also brings an event that American taxpayers can feel as though they are a part of something on the White House lawn, in which they pay taxes to the government that they're supposed to be serving them anyway, right? Public officials in any form of government should be serving the American people, the legal immigrants, right? The people who pay taxes and do everything right out of respect for following the law in this country. Why wouldn't they have an opportunity to be on the lawn and basically encapsulate, or I should say, signify, or I should say, display what this country is about? Unity, love, celebration, greatness, gratitude, all of those characteristics, grit, and coming together and having a good time. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm lovely today. Even more lovely to meet you. Hey, what do you do with yourself? Oh, you're from St. Louis? Oh, yeah, I'm a welder. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I'm this. From all walks of life, all jobs, everybody just trying to figure it out. Right? And I feel like this was a slap in the face for mainstream media, and understanding that it's power to the people. And if you serve the people and stop selfishly worrying about the narrative, and this is how most people feel, of what you want to tell the people, and actually serve the people in truth, we do so much for a greater, just as this event went so amazing. And I feel like it was a slap in the face for the CNNs, the CNBCs, the CBS News, all of the mainstream liberal media in a way, right? That's what I've been getting with the overall sentiment of what people are saying online. And when you seen that, right, that's what CNN's own cameras caught. With that young woman, didn't even know that the UFC funded this event itself, not American taxpayers. So that's what the people said. Now, let's talk about what the media said and why it tells you everything, right? Now, while all of that was happening on the ground, while real people were standing in the heat, excited and proud, and the media was on television losing their minds, and I want you to hear some of the language they actually used, because words matter, right? Well, before we get to that clip, this was the beauty of it, right? This was the whole UFC freedom.
With John Adams being the first president there in 1800, but it's also about the new structure on the DC skyline. That would be the Claw. And underneath, inside the octagon, we say hello. Business with
the excitement, the energy, and just being able to just be together as one. And then to see the Jets, oh man, beautiful. And just to see, nobody likes misery. The media tries to say nobody's happy. Gas prices are too high, which is coming down, and the economy has to reset. When you have to, a lot of people don't like this part. But when you have to do things right, sometimes you have to go through the hard things to be undone to get things right. All right? Just want to put that out there. But yeah, the energy, man. The energy was beautiful. I want to show you guys the Jets. gives me the chills, man. That's what America is about. That's what America is about. We do so much better being together. And our adversaries hate this. But this is what it's about. This is what it's about, family. And you had individuals like this, saying Trump is effing using honor guards at the UFC event on the Lincoln Memorial. No, this is not okay. Don't you dare call yourself a patriot, quote unquote, while supporting this crap. So there you have it. But now I really want to get you guys to see what CNN in regards to the clip. One commentator called the whole thing, and I quote, crass, corrupt, and cruel. Yes, crass. So now I want you guys to check it out.
The folks who've made their way to D.C. for the event.
Well, Erica, they're really excited to be here. And here on Constitution Avenue, thousands of people have been streaming down Constitution Avenue for the last couple of hours just to get in line for the security checkpoint behind me. They have not started to allow people into the venue yet, into the Ellipse, for the Fan Fest event. They're about to do that in the next few minutes. It starts at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But look, you can see people just lining up at the checkpoint there. This is the main security checkpoint to get in. I'm going to kind of circle around our photojournalist, Joe Wagner. He's going to show you over here to our left, that light, that stanchion there with the screen, that's going to be one of the screens where people are going to be able to view the UFC fights tomorrow on the Ellipse. The people who have tickets, these are free tickets, but you had to get them in advance, and then you can view it on that screen tomorrow. All of this cost about $60 million to construct, including that screen, the big claw, the so-called claw, which is the huge lighting stanchion above the octagon. That was also needed to be constructed. The octagon is the big, 8-sided stadium, temporary stadium for those fights. I'm going to talk to two UFC fans who made the journey from St. Louis here. Alexis Crutcher. Alexis, this is your second time at a UFC event. How does it feel to be here for this one?
It feels good. I'm excited. I'm excited to see Derek Lewis fight. I hope he wins. I hope he gets a knockout on Hook Kick.
And Logan Marshall, this is your first time. How does it feel being here at the White House for your first time?
It's been insane. The atmosphere, the people, USA's here. And Hook is going to get the knockout, baby.
Right. What do you feel about the security? Now, obviously, the security here is really tight. You guys have been herded all over these streets just to get into this checkpoint. Does that make it any less of an event?
It definitely makes it less of a worry. My parents were really nervous about me coming, but the security definitely makes it better.
What do you think about the security?
I felt very comfortable every street. There's been security, military police, National Guard. Everybody's here. I feel very safe here.
This has been kind of a controversial event. There are some people who don't think it's appropriate to have a UFC fight on the grounds of the White House. Some people think it's great. What do you think?
I get that. It's definitely like that, but it's also a historical event, so, I'm here.
All right. Logan, what do you think about the controversy?
I think it's part of history. The fighters walking down on the Lincoln Memorial was part of history. We'll never see that again, probably, and it was insane to see.
This has got corporate sponsors all over it. In other words, when they do the sweep of this, and I saw the video, you see all these corporations that poured money in. We know the corporations and people that sponsored the ballroom that he had got more than $50 billion worth of contracts. This is more of his pay-to-play, of his grift and graft, of him doing these
$50 billion of contracts?
$50 billion
from his contributors on
from
the
those
ballroom.
contributors. A small investment gets me pay-to-play. So this whole thing fits into crass, corrupt, and frankly, cruel. It's crass because of the reasons you said. It's corrupt because we know this is pay-to-play. And the cruelty of it is, while he's raising billions of dollars for his arch for a project, for the UFC, for the ballroom, all of these things, which all he wants to talk about is in his press conferences, are these types of things. It's cruel because the people of this country, most of the people of this country are suffering, not being able to afford their health care, not being able to afford groceries, rent, and more. We're in an economic crisis, and he's playing the great Gatsby with his big spectacles on the White House lawn.
This is what Donald Trump is doing in front of the White House right now, and yes, this is a real video. Remember when Donald Trump said he was going to bring respect and normalcy back to the White House? Yeah, well, now there's people jumping motorbikes over the front lawn. There's a UFC octagon and claw on the south lawn. And there's a ballroom being built in the now destroyed area of the East Wing. Great.
And Bud Light bent the knee. They backed away from Dylan Mulvaney. They apologized for what? They surrendered. What? And now you make up your mind what you want to do. Now that same Bud Light is plastered all over that octagon on the White House lawn, celebrating the birthday of a man liable for essentially raping a woman, according to the judge. Organized by a man who was caught on camera hitting his wife. Featuring pardoned January 6th insurrectionists in the crowd on federal land that Congress never authorized for this purpose. Streaming exclusively on a platform owned by a man waiting for Trump's approval to buy the company that owns CNN.
I don't know if you've taken a peek at the White House lawn lately, but I think it's worth noting that this weekend we're going to watch a bunch of dudes give each other fucking brain damage with our taxpayer dollars on the White House lawn, sponsored by Bud Light. A UFC fight on the White House lawn, and I think that's ridiculous for two reasons. The first one being, I remember when the president of Ukraine showed up to the Oval Office without a suit on to negotiate. He was like, I need help. And they were like, he's not wearing a suit. He's disrespecting the sanctity of the office. You know, Americans care about how special this place is. How could you show up here without a suit? Anyways, we're going to use your taxpayer dollars. We're going to build a giant UFC ring, and we're going to watch dudes give each other brain damage.
And that is the ignorance, family, because as you guys heard earlier on in the first clip, it's not American taxpayer funded.
Sanctity of the office or something. The second reason it's ridiculous is that it's the highest level of inflation in like 3.5 years. The labor market sucks. Everything's imploding. There's a huge war in Iran.
Inflation is happening because a lot of people, instead of contributing to society and actually working at least a job, they continue to use programs that taxpayers funded, which then have been exhausted because a lot of people tended to sit on their behind. And that's why the inflation and the debt and taxes is so high. But people don't really want to have that real conversation. Now, I'm all for people getting help. I'm being very objective. Don't get it misconstrued. That's two different things. Everybody needs help once in a while. Things happen, life happens. But there are some people that grab their boots by their bootstraps, utilize the help they got, and eventually get where they're going while continuing to work hard. And there are some individuals that say, oh, well, I got help and they're giving it to me for free, so why should I do anything? Not to also mention the corruption in the name of fraud from states in blue or red. It doesn't matter. Fraud is fraud, and corruption and illegals and things like that, which then will also raise the rate of inflation because there's no difference if you have a business and you're taking more money out of your business than what it actually produces. So if you're continue to basically inflate your business, costing things to be costly because you continue to borrow from the business credit card and you cannot pay it back, then what do you think happens? It's the same thing with the government, right? And individuals who are not contributing to society, which is why you saw the change with welfare. You have to at least be doing 20 hours of community service or some type of thing. You have to work, right? If a man doesn't work, if someone does work, you don't eat. If you don't work, you don't eat, right? Not to get spiritual, but at the end of the day, this is the beauty of America. You, based on if you just work hard, be an honest individual, and do the best you can, eventually you will see the light at the end of the tunnel where you will thrive, right? Because there's opportunities, but it's up to you to seize the moment and continue to work hard and be consistent with work ethic. But if you're not contributing and you're just pulling from the tax base in the name of welfare and things like that because it's just free and you're not doing anything, well, then that will be the cost of inflation happening, borrowing from the government's credit card, and then guess who has to pay that? American taxpayers. But this UFC event has nothing to do with inflation. This happened years before, right? We had more money coming out of the government as American taxpayers end up paying more in taxes to fund these things, and individuals continue to borrow and not contribute in society. And there were more money coming out of the government's credit card than actually being put in to pay down the debt, which is why tariffs and things in that place have came in. And then also think of the beauty of Washington, D.C. with this attraction that was free. Bud Light may have sponsored it. You can have your disagreement if you prefer to like Bud Light or not. I don't drink alcohol. I'm not, I don't. But, you have the freedom, letting the market decide if what you like, and what you don't. But, however, what I am saying is this attraction also strengthens the infrastructure and helps Washington as a whole because now attractions actually attract the people who want to spend their money and have a good time, and then also builds up the tax base, brings money into Washington, which then helps build the things for the American people to serve better, right? Because you are serving the people, and it's just the overall synopsis of business. And Trump is a phenomenal businessman. That's why he has been able to sustain being this wealthy for this long, right? It's self-explanatory on his own. So if I have attractions and things like that I'm actually having events and people are coming and a plethora of people are coming, citizens, they're actually pouring more money back into the tax base. And if I have things that are actually serving the people, I won't have to tax them as much because money will just be flowing in where I can still serve the people, making sure infrastructure and everything is efficient, effective. Law and order is actually being enforced for the safety so people can come out to the attraction and they'll spend their money and you have more money coming in and not working out of a deficit by just taxing them to death where they can't spend their money. See, really, the honest truth is if you tax less, people have more money to spend, which then goes back into the economy of your state, which then you will have more things to be able to do, but serving the people and taking yourself out of it, the politician. But that's a different conversation.
And we're taxpayer dollars UFC fight. No, for sure. This is sick. Hell yeah.
Why does this UFC fight at the White House feel just so trashy to me? Does anyone else feel that way? Like, I guess I've always associated WWE and UFC and, any fighting in a ring with kind of like fans that tend to be trailer trash. And I'm sorry, that's a terrible thing to say. But that's just kind of what's wired in my brain. And I don't know if that's something that's unique to Americans or if people outside of the country tend to associate those sporting events with those types of people as well. I don't know. I'm kind of curious, actually, if that's the case. But regardless, it feels uncouth. It feels uncivilized. And ultimately, I realized that all sporting events are truly bread and circuses. But this is like the most closely related to ancient Rome that we have. And maybe that's why I tend to associate with that. It's like we are watching people fight in a ring just as they did in the Colosseum. And we know why people went to watch those things. And what do we think of those people that used to go and watch people fight to the death at the Colosseum? Were they incredibly intellectual people? I don't think so. I think they were just incredibly distracted people.
How did America become such a joke? You literally have two thugs cursing each other out and shoving each other on the National Mall in front of the Lincoln Memorial, all to promote a $60 million MMA fight on the White House lawn to celebrate our 250th birthday. I didn't vote for this, did you?
I just want to make sure we all recognize that this UFC fight on the White House lawn is just about the most embarrassing YT trash thing that could be happening, right? Like, we all see it. Plus, it also costs however many millions of dollars to do. Meanwhile, people can't afford food or gas or groceries or rent or buy houses or school. But let's put on this UFC fight. I mean, it's fitting given the guy that inhabits the White House right now and how classless, to be nice, this man is. But hey, it's America, baby.
This is the foolishness this clown has done. You used to be able to see the White House lit up at night. Now all you see is a ridiculous UFC ring, all lit up, costing thousands of dollars in electricity. This is the insanity of this country right now. It's crazy.
So there you have it, family. You heard Hakeem Jeffries call it crass. Well, there you have it, guys. You heard Cory Booker, the United States Congressman of New Jersey. Well, there you have it, guys. You heard the Democrat, United States Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey called the whole thing crass, corrupt, and cruel, and said Trump was playing the great Gapsy on. And there you heard it, guys. The United States Senator of New Jersey, the Democrat Cory Booker, called it crass, corrupt, and cruel, I quote, and said Trump was playing the Great Gatsby on the White House lawn, I quote, meaning he's throwing fancy parties while regular people struggle. That was the argument. And look, I'll be fair, family, because if you genuinely believe the president is out of touch with working people, that's a conversation worth having. But here's where it fell apart, because another commentator went on camera and said UFC fans tend to be trailer trash, right? Quote unquote. Said watching people fight is uncivilized, and said the whole thing felt low class to her. And she said it like she was just stating a fact everybody already knew. Now, I need you to sit with that for a second, because these are the same voices that tell you every election cycle that they are fighting for the working class, that they are for everyday people, that they understand the struggle. And then the moment working class people show up to enjoy a sporting event they love, suddenly those same people are trash. That's not a slip of the tongue. That's a window into how they actually see you. And it connects directly to what we saw on the ground. Those fans from St. Louis and Austin weren't confused about who was looking down on them. They were just too busy having a good time to care. Now, here's something the media conveniently left out. And when they were calling this event unprecedented and embarrassing, I found it interesting because it was a UFC released an AI promo for the White House featuring Theodore Roosevelt. Check this out and let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments.
But the landmark event we're witnessing tonight is not entirely without precedent. At the dawn of the 20th century, America's commander-in-chief, Theodore Roosevelt, brought flight sports to the White House. He often invited boxers, wrestlers, and martial artists, but not for entertainment or exhibition. They were summoned here to spar with the president. Roosevelt said, "A nation that cannot fight is not worth its salt." So he trained like a fighter throughout his presidency, leading by example, living what he called the strenuous life. Not everyone likes the idea of fights at the White House. But as Teddy Roosevelt famously said, it is not the critic who counts. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly.
Right? So you guys seeing that and seeing how they use Theodore Roosevelt, and history remembers him as one of the toughest, most respected presidents this country ever had. So this idea that combat sports near the White House is somehow new or beneath the dignity of the office, that's just not accurate. And a 5-minute search would tell you that. But the media didn't want to give you that context because the context doesn't support the narrative. And here's the double standard that I can't let slide, family, because it's too obvious to ignore. If this exact same event on a White House lawn was a drag show or some type of celebration that they deemed approved, those same commentators would be calling it brave, calling it historic, calling it a beautiful moment for America. And you know that's true because we've seen it happen before. The problem was never the event. The problem is who's enjoying it, who's being celebrated, and who didn't get invited to control the story. And that right there tells you more about the bias than any press release ever could. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 15 says, "The simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thought to his steps." Don't let anybody tell you how to feel about something you watch with your own eyes. When the media sends cameras to find outrage and finds joy instead, and then gets angry about the joy, that's not journalism. That's an agenda. And the people on that line were clear about what they experienced, regardless of what cable news said about it. Drop a comment and tell me what you think. Did the media get this one completely wrong? Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, spread that peace, love, and positivity. Let the love supersede the hate, family. Catch you in the next one. Peace.